UMass President Marty Meehan is our guest this morning. Let's go on the record. The Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action brings a sea change to campus. How will the UMass system adjust? And what will be the impact for new applicants? The president is here. Let's go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to OTR. And don't worry, school is still out for the summer, so don't worry about it. Along with our News Center 5 political reporter, I'm Ed Harding. Thank you for joining us this morning. Sharman Zucchetti alongside. We also have UMass President Marty Meehan here with us. He has served, as you know, as president of the UMass system since 2015. Before that, he was the chancellor of UMass Lowell. Native of Lowell, represented the city in Congress from 93 to 07. He holds degrees from UMass Lowell and Suffolk University. It's always great to have you with us.
Great to be here.
Great to see you.
Thanks for being here. All right, let's get right to it. The Supreme Court struck down affirmative action in college admissions. What exactly is your message to your staff regarding this? How should they adapt?
Well, it's an unfortunate decision from my perspective. I disagree with the decision, but at the same time, we have an obligation at UMass to reflect the community at large. So we've increased diversity by pretty significant numbers on all of our campuses. But we're going to try to get people to come from all the various high schools in the state, places around the country, people who have had difficulty coming up. We're going to try to make us just as diverse. I will tell you this with UMass. We're not a university that makes its reputation by the people we reject. We actually make our reputation by the people we accept. And we accept more graduates, more people to come to our school than we reject. So I think we're in a little different position, and I'm confident working with our legal counsel and looking and reading the decision that we're going to be able to increase the diversity we've started.
There have been concerns that this could in fact mean fewer people, diverse people enrolling in college. Are you concerned about that?
Yes, that is a concern. It's one of the things I don't like about the opinion. But on the other hand, we have early college programs all over the state where we're getting high school students to take courses with UMass and get college credit for it. So we're going to sort of redeploy resources to get into the high schools to make sure that people know they ought to go to college.
Some gateway cities.
We're doing it in gateway cities in the city of Boston. UMass Boston is doing that. So it's just a matter of implementing a lot of different strategies to make sure that people can realize they can get into college and they can succeed at college.
Well, and to that point, what about the application process? I mean, what should students who are looking at UMass, for example, look to with their applications? And I'm specifically asking about the essays. Would it be important? Would that be an important factor now in the process?
They should talk about the adversity that they had to go through in their life. They should talk about the different experiences they have with their family, including the fact that family situations or whether they're first generation. All of those factors could be taken into consideration. I don't, in the long run, I disagree with the decision, but in the long run, I don't think it's negatively going to impact the University of Massachusetts in terms of our diversity.
No.
I think we've established policies. We're looking at, lawyers are looking at the decision. We're going to find a way to make sure that we admit just as diverse a class next year as we did this year.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right. Now, despite the diversity that you are talking about, on the Amherst campus, in a 2021 survey, 26% of black students said they do not feel they have a place on campus. What is your response to that?
Well, first of all, I think any predominantly white campus or university, that when you take that kind of a survey, the results actually aren't surprising. You usually get those kinds of results. And what you do is you take the results and you implement a strategy. And DEI strategies at UMass went into effect. They're having all kinds of strategies with students, meetings with students, DEI every year in September. So what you do is you take data like that and say, okay, what can we do to make the place more inclusive? And that's exactly what they've been doing. They've had a team of people doing that. So I'm confident that we're going to be able to continue to become more diverse. Diversity isn't, as you know, isn't just the numbers, it's how inclusive a place that you are. And that's one of the things that all campuses ought to be working at all the time.
The key to that is not only the information, but how you apply the information, how you put the information to work.
And what programs work, and what kind of DEI programs do you need? And you have to have open discussion.
Mm-hmm,
you need to have to listen to people.
We talked about the Supreme Court decision on affirmative action. The Supreme Court also shut down President Biden's loan forgiveness program. In-state tuition, room and board at UMass Amherst, if I'm wrong, correct me, is around $33,000 a year now. So the question becomes, is it still worth it?
I think college is worth it. All the data says that if you get a bachelor's degree, you're going to make 50% more. If you get a master's degree, you're going to make 100% more than if you don't get a college degree. And it's that way now, and that's one of the challenges we have. But I think, look, I'd like to see the federal government double the Pell Grant limit. If they could double the Pell Grant in this country, basically community college would be free just on the Pell Grant. So I think the federal government, there are a lot of things the federal government, I disagree with that decision as well, but I think the federal government needs to stay up and play a role. I will tell you at UMass, since I've been president, we have put 67% more into need-based financial aid. We now, this year, will give $395 million in need-based financial aid. So universities need to provide more need-based financial aid.
For the record, where do you stand on loan forgiveness? Do you you have a firm position on loan forgiveness itself?
Well, look, I'm a university president. Any loan that can be forgiven, I'm in favor of. But I do think it needs to be coupled with what do we do moving forward? What do we do with the kids that are in the city of Boston now that need to have their Pell Grants doubled?
To that point, Governor Healy has proposed that students attending UMass should be able to lock in 4 years at the same tuition rate. You know, when you start this 4 years from now, it should remain the same. Your opinion on that?
We would support that. We need predictability in what it's going to cost to go to college. So anything that would help fund the predictability would be a great thing. So we supported that. We supported that in the budget process. We'll see how it all works out. There's a lot of discussion back and forth now. But the bottom line is we need to have more need-based financial aid for our students. We've done that at UMass, but we'd like to see the federal and state government participate more.
Do you expect any sort of resolution on Beacon Hill when it comes to a potential tuition lock? Do you think that could actually happen?
I think it's a proposal the governor made. Part of the challenge is that the cost of living increase is scheduled to go into effect. For UMass, it's a $90 million hit. It's something we can't control, so we're going to have to figure out how we pay for those cost of living increases. We'd like to see our employees paid, but at the other hand, we have to pay 60% of the cost, so that's part of our challenge too. We're a people business. When cost of living goes up, we need to pay for it.
All right, we want to talk about that new development near UMass Boston. It has just won a key approval. It has the potential to transform the Columbia Point area with commercial and residential development. It's called the Dorchester Bay City Project. Now, what exactly would this mean for UMass Boston and the surrounding area?
I think it's probably the most important thing to happen to UMass Boston in 40 years.
You've called it transformative.
This is transformative, not just for Boston, but not just for UMass Boston, but for the city of Boston and the relationship between UMass Boston. UMass Boston accepts almost 4,000 residents of Boston into UMass Boston. They're working on bachelor's degree, master's degree, PhDs. Many of the majority of them come from Boston Public Schools. These folks ought to get an opportunity to do internships, co-ops at companies in life sciences and in computer science, companies that would be attracted to come to Dorchester Bay City and they would locate there because of the proximity with UMass Boston. We think that would be a major plus.
Do you think this will bring in more companies that your students could eventually see themselves
Our students could work for? We would develop at UMass Boston certificate programs for companies that are there. So if somebody who's a resident of the city of Boston needed to get a certificate to be qualified for a job, to go to one of the companies at Dorchester Bay City, we would help that. This is a project that we're forming an alliance, and we're going to work hard with it. All of the revenue from the project comes to UMass Boston, and UMass Boston, we had a building and a garage implode there. It's a $180 million problem. This project is going to help us be able to solve that and to make those investments. The last point I'd make on this, one of the things we need at UMass Boston, we need to expand our nursing program. Why do we need to do that? Because somebody who lives in Boston that goes to a hospital in Boston ought to have a nurse that looks like them. UMass Boston produces more diverse nursing candidates than any place. So we want to expand our nursing program. This is going to allow us to do that. So I think there's all kinds of benefits. Resiliency, climate resiliency is a big deal with this. Affordability, affordable housing, 20% of it would be owner-occupied. And inclusion. I also think that there's a issue here of equity. Shouldn't a UMass Boston student have the same opportunity to get internships and co-ops and get a job in a vibrant area as they have on the other side of the Charles River.
How far out is this? I can see people wondering, how far out is this?
Well, we've been at this for about 4.5 years. So with COVID, it's taken a little longer to get through the process. But this is something that would unfold over the next decade. And it's a tough time for construction with the changes,
right.
But we're going to persevere on this, and we think this is a game changer. And we really think it's an issue of equity, too. We think UMass Boston and Boston residents should have an opportunity to achieve their full potential. This will help them do that.